Hi everybody, this is Skip Alsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where I'm sick. This is not a live show, this is pre-recorded, because I am prone to coughing fits. This is what happens to Skip, the AV Geek, is that he gets sick with some sort of miserable cold or flu. I don't think it's COVID, but ugh. Anyways, we're going to watch a series of films today that we haven't shown before, which is kind of exciting. The first thing we're going to watch is one of those work time studies things called human reaction time, and that's silent. Next, we're going to watch a film about time called Time. Then this amazing film called The Romance of Timekeeping. It's visually just beautiful. Lots of really great shots about watches and watchmaking. And then finally, Everywhere All the Time, which is I believe a boat safety film. Anyways, I will be napping, maybe during this show, or maybe I will tune in. But thanks so much for all your well wishes yesterday. I'm keeping very well hydrated. Katrina's taking care of me, and I'm taking some cold meds and just kind of taking it easy. So you guys take it easy, and hopefully I'll feel better and I'll come back tomorrow and do a show live. We'll see what the body has in mind. But thanks again, everybody. If you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up, hit the like. You can donate via the super thanks button, or go to KO. You can go to ko-fi.com. That's coffee. That's what that spells, coffee. Because I'm certainly drinking coffee. .com/avgeeks, patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are great ways to support us. But everybody have a great rest of your day. And enjoy films about time. Take care.
Time is the background of our lives. It regulates our every action. It is universal, ever present. But what is it, and how can it be measured? Spring, summer, fall, winter. The changing, recurring seasons suggest the idea of time, suggest a way of measuring it. The family, with the young child, mother who has lived longer, grandmother with her many years, they are evidence of the flow of time and of an order of events by which time can be measured. This ancient redwood, which was once but a spindly sapling, has seen countless generations and so becomes a yardstick of time. Time is mirrored in the march of history. Time is seen in the succession of man's labors. Time is seen in the movements of the oceans, high tide and low tide. Yes, always when we think of time or try to measure it, we relate it to a series of happenings, to a succession of events which will give it meaning. Perhaps the simplest, most easily recognized succession of events is day and night. Therefore, it was only natural that lightness and darkness was man's first timepiece. Lines scratched on a stick, one for each day, served as a record. But soon man noticed that the sun, as it traveled across the sky, threw a moving shadow, the direction of which divided the day into shorter time units, units by which he could tell how much more daylight remained before nightfall. The length and position of the moving shadow from a stick planted in the ground served the same purpose. It was a crude version of what was later to be known as the sundial. Sun clocks, such as the sundial, took many interesting forms. Among them this one, popular in ancient Egypt. Here, the ever-changing length of the sun's shadow was measured, and so told time. And as man depended on the sun to measure off the day, he depended on the position of the stars to measure off the night. The stars rose in the east, swung through the heavens, and set in the west, only to reappear the following night. In Egypt, men had come to know certain easily recognized groups of stars. From their stargazing, they painted timetables which told where these stars would be on any night of the entire year. But few Egyptians had the knowledge and the skill to tell time in this difficult way. And to make matters worse, both the sun and the stars were useless when the sky was overcast. Man needed something that would work at all times, something that would tell time, day and night, clear or cloudy. So various mechanical devices were invented to do the job, like this one being used in old Egypt. The slow escape of water from a leaking vessel suggested the water clock. As the vessel slowly emptied, the lowering water level gradually uncovered a scale of marks which indicated periods of time. In climates where water was scarce, or where it might easily freeze, fine sand or powdered eggshell was used. And this gave birth to the more complicated hourglasses, hourglasses of many shapes and sizes. For night owls, there was a candle clock, which literally burned away the hours. And sometimes the shadow cast by the candle flame was used. Of course, many things, even a slight draft, would raise havoc with the accuracy of these timepieces. Through the fall of the Roman Empire, and the conquests of Charlemagne, there was little improvement in the methods of telling time. But out of the Renaissance, which followed the Dark Ages, came two tremendously important discoveries. The first was a mechanism called the escapement. In principle, the escapement was very simple. A falling weight unwound a spool or drum. The drum was connected to a pegged wheel, and biting into this pegged wheel were two catches which allowed the wheel to revolve, a little at a time. The catches were connected to an arm which swung back and forth, ticked off time intervals. As one tooth escaped, the opposite tooth gave a little kick to the catch, and so the swinging arm was kept in motion. It was a crude device, and not always reliable, but it was far better than drops of water, or running sand, or candle flame. And from this came the tower clock, the grandsire of all modern clocks. Following closely came the second great discovery of the Renaissance. Seated in the cathedral at Pisa, the famed scientist Galileo was watching the slow swing of the great lamp. Using his heartbeat to time it, he noticed that the lamp always took the same length of time for a trip back and forth, regardless of how far it swung. As Galileo watched, he saw it as a simple swinging weight, a pendulum. A pendulum follows a simple law. For a given length, it always takes the same time for a trip, regardless of how far it swings. This made-to-order time spacer was applied to a clock mechanism, an escapement in which the pendulum, as it swings, literally bites off equal intervals of time, which can be lengthened or shortened by setting the length of the pendulum. This marked the beginning of a long period of popularity for pendulum clocks. Cabinet makers turned their fancy loose to produce every possible variety of shape, material, and decoration. Even the dial was given a series of beauty treatments until it became so ornate that it was almost impossible to read the numbers. But in spite of all the gilt and enamel, clocks were man-sized affairs. They still had to be tall enough to hold a pendulum and to allow for the fall of the weight. Meantime, clockmakers had a field day, unleashed a flood of new and often fantastic escapements, let loose a host of unique variations of clock mechanisms. Along with these came two developments which led to smaller and better clocks. First, a coiled spring replaced the weight as driving power. It could be wound up as easily as a weight, but it took much less room. Next, the pendulum was replaced by a combination of balance wheel and hairspring. As the hairspring winds and unwinds and the balance wheel turns back and forth, the teeth of the escapement wheel are released and so measure off even time units. With this new, more compact mechanism, the clock graduated from the floor to the table. And finally, the table clock shrunk to pocket size. And thus the watch was born. Odd shapes, curious mechanism, and elaborate decoration were the fashion. This royal gift, a golden egg decorated with intricate design, opens to reveal a maze of dials. Often one hand had to do the work of two. Some were heavy and plump. Some thin, but as large as a saucer. Alarm or striking watches were great favorites. Today, the modern watch, a far cry from its pudgy ancestors, has come into being. Modern manufacturing methods have given it amazing accuracy. But at what speed shall these watches run? How do we know when they tell the right time? Against what standard shall our watches be checked? To answer this, we must return to nature, the master clock, to the sun on its daily journey across the sky, and to the regular movements of the stars through the night. At dawn in early autumn, the Egyptians noticed a group of stars just above the horizon of the eastern sky. At dawn, 1 week later, they noticed that this same group of stars was slightly higher. A month later, these stars were still further ahead of the sun. Finally, after approximately 365 days, because of this continuous advance, they found the same group of stars again in the same position as during their first observation. These things were observed, but they were not understood until hundreds of years later, when the astronomer Copernicus offered a simple and logical explanation. He showed that the Earth travels around the sun once every year. Meanwhile, it spins on its own axis, like a top. It is this spinning into and out of the sun's rays that creates day and night. And as part of the Earth moves into darkness, the people on that side of the Earth see group after group of stars come into view. This nightly panorama of the firmament enables us to tell time by the stars, for the stars as well as the sun measure off time. But sun time and star time differ. Suppose directly overhead at night is a star billions of miles away. At another point on the Earth, to another observer, the sun is directly overhead. The Earth turns exactly one revolution, and meanwhile it moves a short distance in its trip around the sun. It is the next night. The star is again directly overhead, and a star day or sidereal day has elapsed. At the other point on the Earth, however, the observer does not find the sun any longer directly overhead. It takes the Earth a little longer, 3 minutes and 56 seconds, to catch up. This is a solar day, the day of lightness and darkness by which we live. But since it varies slightly from day to day, our timepieces are checked for accuracy by the stars. At Elgin, Illinois, home of fine American-made watches, the accuracy of tens of thousands of watches are continuously checked. The telescope that relates time to the stars is built so that it can swing only in one direction, north and south, along the imaginary line called the celestial meridian, which is directly overhead in the sky. In the lens system of this telescope is a web of lines. These are reference lines, and one of them is movable. When the star to be observed, called a clock star, appears in vision, the vertical line is moved under the control of a finely adjusted micrometer wheel. The line cuts the star exactly in half and follows the star from east to west. As the moving thread crosses the exact center of the field, an electrical circuit is broken and the star's movement is automatically recorded on the tape of a delicate electrical instrument. The regular beats of the clock, which tells sidereal time, as perfect a timekeeping instrument as man's ingenuity has been able to devise, are recorded on the same tape. Thus, the record gives the rate of travel of the star according to the sidereal time clock. This is compared with the correct entry in an elaborate set of star tables which gives, for every clock star, the exact time it must appear on any day of the year. By this unceasing check with nature, the scrupulous accuracy of the sidereal time clock and its companion, the mean solar time clock, is assured to the hundredths of a second. And from these faithful standards, timepieces all over the world are set and checked and double-checked. We have seen how human progress brought with it a stream of inventions, carrying the telling of time from the sundial of the ancients down to ever better mechanical devices. At the same time, man's searching eyes have probed ever deeper into the heavens, and his knowledge of the timetable of the universe has steadily increased. Today, beating out with faithful regularity the unceasing motions of the stars, is the modern watch. Today, timepieces are a far cry from their earlier ancestors. They are thinner, neater, less expensive, and infinitely more accurate. Human ingenuity and the unchanging laws of nature have given us these timepieces to which all of our life is geared. Time is universal. Time guides the little things of everyday life. Time is the aid of the doctor and the scientist. Time guides the wheels of industry. Time guides the complicated schedules of our transportation systems. In war, time coordinates the intricate plans of attack. Man, who dares everything, has made a universe of stars into a timepiece and imprisoned it in an ingenious and delicate mechanism. And so, in peace and in war, time has become the servant of man.
Of all the things you own, the one you look at most often is your watch. It is your most intimate personal possession, almost an intrinsic part of you. You depend upon its accuracy to apportion the precious moments of each day. All over the world, a fine watch is prized for usefulness and beauty. The watch he wears tells you much about the sort of man who owns it. You expect a good watch to be rugged and trouble-free, even under the most difficult conditions. And you know that a watch as beautiful and as precise as this will always be in fashion. But once upon a time, nobody cared about hours and minutes. In those days, the clock was the stomach. Hungry? It's time to eat. Later, when life got more complicated and people were expected home in time for supper, some forgotten genius noted that the shadow of a stick grew longer toward evening. This simple device got fancier. The obelisk was used by Egyptian priests 3,000 years ago to divide the day into parts. They called their obelisk the finger of the great god Ra, and Ra's finger worked pretty well in Egypt, where the sun shines almost every day. But what about cloudy days or night? Another early inventor, seeing that a leaky bowl would always empty at the same speed, went into business making leaky bowls with markings to indicate the passage of time. Various gadgeteers improved on this device called the clepsydra, from the Greek word meaning water thief. Eventually, gearing was incorporated in the water clock, and this kind of device was used in the Roman Senate to limit debate. Aqua finita est. Translation, your water has run out. The debate strictly limited by the time it took for the water to flow out of the clepsydra bowl. But this elegant mechanism was no more reliable than the intentions of a crooked Roman politician. A little dirt in the works could regulate the clepsydra so the honorable senator would be able to do justice to his subject with a few thousand more well-chosen words.
Dictis me honestissime collegae de foro moendo ex media orbis, accident ut mihi vicem to jugera sint.
Perhaps this was not the first time the clepsydra had been adjusted. Later on, across the world in old China, the equipment for telling time indoors took a different form, the fire clock. This handsome device had a standard of accuracy that also left something to be desired, yet it was considered a useful ornament in the palace of a Chinese emperor. The principle was simple. A stick of slowly burning joss eventually burned through thread holding the bronze spheres. The summons of this early alarm clock evoked the same reaction then as it draws today. But the emperor had one advantage over most of us: a harem of beautiful girls to bring him his clothes, his crown, and his cup of tea in the morning. Made it almost worthwhile to fire up the old alarm clock way back there in ancient China. Another, even more popular timekeeper was the sand glass. It was portable, it wouldn't freeze or flicker out, but it still required too much attention. If you forgot to turn it over the instant the sand ran out, you lost all track of time, and anything could happen. For hundreds of years, civilization depended on the hourglass, the clepsydra, the fire clock, and the sundial to measure the passage of time. The concept of hours first appeared on the sundials of the Middle Ages. But sundials, though they were accurate, had one obvious major disadvantage. No sun, no time. Somebody ought to do something about this. In Orvieto, in Italy, in 1351, somebody did something about it. No citizen of the city of Orvieto had to depend upon a cloudless sky to know the hour. In a tower near the cathedral, a magical machine had been built to mark the hours by ringing bells. The swinging balance, called the folio, which controlled the speed, was the secret of this wizardly mechanism. Eventually, each major town in Europe had a tower clock. Now the clock had a face and hands, and the hands were really hands. The pace of life was quickening. More and more people needed to be at certain places at specific times. The elements of earlier timekeepers were incorporated in the Baron clock, which has been putting on a good show for over 400 years. Ingenuity and pride of craftsmanship distinguish these historic timepieces. These early tower clocks worked so hard that repairs were frequently required. The delicate adjustments done by the local blacksmith who had built the clock on the spot. The town clock ran by muscle power. Cranked by hand, a huge weight was lifted slowly up the tower. The stored energy would be paid out bit by bit through this train of hand-filed gears. The art of timekeeping advanced through the work of men like Peter Henlein of Nuremberg. An early clockmaker was also a blacksmith, an armorer, and a locksmith, a precision mechanic of his time. Such a man was Peter Henlein, who was credited with having first used the coiled spring in clockwork about the year 1510. Early locks often used this kind of spring. Henlein's great idea was that the spring could be used to store power just as weights had done. This important invention made possible the first portable clock, entirely self-contained, with no dangling weights. A timepiece like this was a gift fit for a king. The spring-driven table clock was a big technical breakthrough, and within a few years, the first true pocket clock appeared. This was the famous Nuremberg egg. The science of watchmaking being what it was in the 16th century, the proud owner should have been pleased if his splendid, expensive watch kept time within a couple of hours a day. The problem was that this folio balance worked fine in a stationary clock, but in a portable timepiece, it changed speed each time the watch changed position. So when in doubt, which must have been frequently, it was customary to check your watch with a pocket sundial, if the sun were shining. Men's vests still have two pockets, one for the watch and one for the sundial, even today. It is said that the solution to the problem of making an accurate portable timepiece came by accident to that same remarkable Peter Henlein of Nuremberg. The pig's bristle, acquired by Henlein at considerable price, turned out to be a bargain. The idea occurred to him that this hair could be used to restrain the uncontrolled motion of the folio balance, to make it run more evenly. But this watch still had a sundial, just in case. The pig's hair was the forerunner of this early hairspring, which evolved in the 18th century to an appearance very much like the hairspring of today. At last, it was possible to make a watch that was not only beautiful, but also usefully accurate. The watch was an envied possession, reserved by its high cost to the rich and the powerful. Eventually, it was possible to make a watch small enough to be worn on the wrist. This was the first true wristwatch. 150 years ago, only personages of unlimited wealth could afford to commission such a magnificent watch made by the celebrated Nito, jeweler to the court of Napoleon Bonaparte and the Empress Josephine. Josephine, who spent half the revenue of the French state on her jewels, had ordered this watch as a wedding gift to her son's bride, the Princess Auguste Emilie of Lichtenberg. Thus began the custom of the presentation of a beautiful wristwatch as the important, the perfect gift. Not so long ago, a wristwatch was a luxury for royalty. Now, with modern production technology, the fine watch you can afford is more accurate and more dependable than the watch once treasured by the Empress Josephine. What is a watch, and what goes on inside it? Let's take the back off with this special key and get a jeweler's eye view of a watch. A modern watch may seem complicated at first glance, but if you compare it to a car, it has a chassis, which is this precisely machined metal piece called the plate. And it has a motor, a powerful coiled spring in this container called the barrel. The motor goes here on the plate. And now, for clarity, let's make the plate transparent. Next comes the transmission, this train of gears. Now comes the jeweled lever and escapement, the speed control. Bridges hold the tops of the shafts in alignment. And in the truly modern watch, we add a self-winding device. Here, the movement of a ball-bearing mounted rotor winds the main spring. The heart of a watch is the escapement. If you wind a watch without an escapement, in a precision watch, the escapement is jeweled throughout. The ends of this lever and the bearings, the parts subject to the most friction, are made of incredibly hard rubies. The jewels protect the movement from wear. The jeweled escapement is one of the distinguishing features of a quality watch. A watch without a jeweled escapement will tick for a while, but with metal scraping on metal, it will soon wear out. The secret of timekeeping precision is the accuracy and regularity with which the energy from the motor is transmitted to the hands. Only a fine watch, well designed and made with great care, can do this exacting job. Everything the word quality means is symbolized by a good watch, and there is obviously no cheap way to make a quality watch. The making of a precision watch requires some of the most sophisticated machinery in the world. This automatic plate mill carves the plate from a thick metal disc, every dimension held to an accuracy of better than a 20th the thickness of a single hair. But it takes the skill and experience of technicians, watchmaking engineers, and machinists to keep these marvelous tools performing perfectly. This multiple head drill and tapper completes 30 microscopic operations as the plate goes round the machine. Screw threads made with taps, some as small as 1/100th of an inch. Gear making also introduces strange comparisons. Here are 100 newly made gears, yet see how they compare with the fingers of the girl who tends the machine. This room houses a battery of the renowned Swiss micro lathes, automated to work with superhuman precision, making parts so tiny the operator can't see them. When he wants to check one, he holds up a fine net until he figures the machine has made a piece, and then he feels around to find it. There's the part, and now they're going to cut gear teeth on both ends of it. Then they polish those impossibly small gear teeth one by one. Can you see what this man is doing? Look closer. Now can you see? No, and he can't either. The part is so small that he works by touch and sound alone. And to make sure those gear teeth are exactly spaced, this gentleman uses an ultra-sensitive measuring device, each gear manipulated onto those two jaws. The tolerances are indicated by red needles. On the nose, 2/millionths of an inch. Here in a special room is the world's smallest assembly line, where they put together the little clutches that transmit power to the spring from the rotor of a self-winding watch. The pieces are so diminutive, the clearance is so infinitesimal that hands may not touch them. There are 6 components in this micro-sized metal sandwich. Between the 2 end wheels are 4 tiny parts which must move freely. A miniature press clamps the assembly together with exactly the right pressure. That large, clumsy object is a common pin. The small things are perfect small screws that hold a watch together, so tiny that this thimble holds 38,872 of them. The technique of highest precision watchmaking is learned through years of schooling in the Watchmakers Institute, followed by more years of factory training. By heritage and temperament, the people of this part of Switzerland are specially well adapted to be the world's finest watchmakers. Watchmaking is in their blood, blending the painstaking Germanic urge to precision with the French artistic flair. Now we see the first heartbeats of the most modern precision watch, the motor in place, the gear train positioned, with the pinions supported by jeweled bridges, and the balance wheel coming to life for the first time. And finally, to complete this handsome assembly, the self-winding device is installed. Winding your watch is as old-fashioned as cranking your car. A modern watch is wound automatically by the wearer's movements. In this most scientifically advanced automatic watch, the freely swinging rotor is mounted on one of the world's smallest ball bearings. This system maintains a constant power reserve in the mainspring, notably improving timekeeping accuracy. Now the watch takes on a more familiar form during the process of habillage or dressing. Most of the cost of a quality watch is in skilled labor. The materials cost less than 2% of the total value of this watch movement. Although some of the most precise machinery in the world is used to make its parts, a watch of this quality cannot be assembled on a production line. Each watch is built and adjusted individually by a skilled watchmaker. Now secure in its discreetly elegant waterproof case, the watch is ready for rigorous comparison to an electronic timing standard. Clamped to a microphone, each watch is tested in different positions. An ultra-precise oscillograph records the most minute deviation from absolute accuracy. The result is a timepiece that is 99.995% accurate. Few machines made by man are as accurate, as precise, as reliably trouble-free as a good Swiss watch. Every step in the making of a fine watch is checked and rechecked. These orbiting watches are being tested for the proper function and power reserve of the self-winding mechanism. Here, super waterproof watches are tested on a special machine which can create the pressure found more than 600 feet below sea level. In this factory, for every person who is actually engaged in production, there are two who check and test. There is no substitute for such exhaustive control to maintain the very highest standards of quality. Only when the engineers and craftsmen are satisfied that they have done their remarkable best is a watch of this character ready for shipment. In more than 130 countries throughout the world, the product of this extraordinary scientific care is known with favor as the most modern of watches. Sunday in the town of Grenchen. From the heights above the town, watchmakers who all week have worked with minute objects only inches away enjoy the handsome scenery with which Switzerland is so richly endowed. Others who all week handle tiny parts delight in the rough and tumble of the game the Swiss call football. The factory is quiet, deserted, the hum of machines silenced till tomorrow. Only a few minutes from the heart of Grenchen are the tranquil beauties of the Jura Mountains, today full of watchmakers on excursions. Yet even on Sunday, Jakob Kuntz comes to the plant. Jakob Kuntz has come to look at his babies. He's checking on his Observatory chronometers, the most precise kind of watch that can be made. This takes training, patience, experience, dedication. It also requires an uncanny gift. Not more than 20 men in all the world can regulate a watch to the incredible accuracy that qualifies it for an Observatory chronometer certificate. It is significant that every other company that competes for Observatory awards makes a special kind of watch for the tests. Eterna is the only company that uses standard production watch movements that win Observatory awards for accuracy. Regulated with a master's touch, these watches are to be entered for the rigid tests at the Neuchâtel Observatory. Jakob Kuntz trusts nobody but himself to take his babies to the observatory. He'll carry them on his lap all the way to Neuchâtel, and the company driver has been instructed to drive with extra care. Passing through one of the charming little towns along the way, he's reminded of the length and depth of timekeeping tradition that make possible the perfection of the work he does today. Here at the State Observatory is an electronic clock, so precise that it is one of the 3 basic time standards of the world. In these thermostatically controlled chambers are kept the watches which are competing for certification as observatory chronometers. A photoelectric timing microscope, designed to eliminate personal error in observation, is used to check each watch every day for 45 days. Through the microscope, the second hand approaches the white mark. At the eclipse, an electronic timer, controlled by the ultra-precise standard clock, measures the deviation from perfection to the 1,000th of a second. The watches are tested in different positions and at various temperatures. A printed record is made of the performance of each watch. The timepiece that merits the designation Observatory chronometer may justly be considered a masterpiece of scientific watchmaking art. Care, testing, advanced techniques are quality features you cannot see, but there are things you can see. Ask your jeweler to open the back of any watch you're thinking of buying. Now look at it. A good watch is made from best quality metal, polished to a fine silken finish. At the points where friction would be destructive to accuracy, jewels are provided to protect the movement from wear. This is a costly construction. There is no cheap way to make a good watch. Features like anti-magnetic, shockproof, even waterproof mean little unless they protect a good movement. Your jeweler, who is intimately acquainted with the pedigrees of the watches he sells, is your best source of advice and counsel on the selection of a high-quality modern watch to meet your individual needs. You may choose a watch to be the token of your enduring love, the perfect, ever-present reminder of a time precious to you both. Or you may select it to travel with you literally to the ends of the earth, to be a dependable companion wherever you may go. You can expect it to take the punishment of the most rugged jobs men do. Your well-chosen watch is as at home in the steaming tropics as in the most elegant surroundings. It can be your most beautiful as it is your most useful fashion accessory. It has been said that a good watch is one of the highest expressions of the mechanical and artistic achievements of civilization. Impeccable good taste is cosmopolitan. At a remote medical station in Panama or in the boardroom of a great corporation, a distinguished timepiece has long been the traditional symbol to honor accomplishment and to signify esteem. Whoever you are, wherever you may live, the knowledge that you possess the best has a special satisfaction. And that this technically most advanced watch has been proven out in the extremes of environment to which man's activity is subjected is a further source of satisfaction. You know that from the burning deserts of the East to the chill of mountain ski fields, the tiny scientific masterpiece that you wear will adapt as well as you do yourself. Your way of life may require a watch of exceptional accuracy and durability, or you may simply want to own the best. Your fine timepiece, chosen with care, will be your most intimate and trustworthy possession, serving you loyally wherever you may go. Its name known and respected for extraordinary accuracy and reliability in more than 130 countries throughout the world. This, then, is the modern watch, the automatic watch, a true symbol of man's continued scientific advancement, his progress in the direction of an eternal goal, the precision of the stars.
And that's what happened on the last day of my vacation. Hey, you know I could have drowned.
I'll say you could.
Boy, if those were my kids, would I straighten them out.
Here they were?
No, they were going so fast, nobody could see who they were.
Yeah, that's the way it always goes.
You know, sometimes I think the safest place you can be is right here in this plant.
Hi, fellas.
Oh, hello there. Want a little room?
Yeah, thanks. Good day, huh?
Yeah.
I think you've got something there. Come to think of it, we make it our business to be safe. You never see a guy driving a company truck recklessly or carelessly around here. Or the very least they'd get is calling the carpet. You'd think that any guy who'd take a chance with an electrical tool that wasn't grounded was a nut, wouldn't you? You don't see anybody in the plant using a power saw without the guard. I believe we are safer here in the plant.
What's the matter? You fellas getting to be old fogies? Of course, nobody wants to get clobbered, but all life is a gamble. What's the use of living if you don't take a few chances?
I don't know, Fred. Seems to me that those who take chances don't live very long.
Ah.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
Ellen, let's get this ground clip attached. And some shoes on. Hey, Danny, keep your hands away from that thing. Nice job of parking, honey. I can't understand it. The whole family, Why do we all live so dangerously? Is it just ignorance? It's a wonder we haven't all killed ourselves. You know, somehow we have to have safety everywhere all the time. And by the way, you should appreciate still having two hands after what you did with that power mower this afternoon. If I ever catch you getting your hands and fingers around those whirling blades again, your name is going to be Mud.
Yeah. I guess maybe you're right, Dad. Just nuts, that's all.
Okay, Danny, you got...
But Danny's got the right idea. Water skiing and keeping cool all day. What a life.
Yep. Skied most of the day yesterday. Boy, it was wonderful. Hardly a soul on the lake in the morning. Just beautiful. And I had the motor open all the way. Why, Johnny Fisher practically flew behind the boat.
Were you the only water skiers out yesterday morning? About what time did you start out?
I don't know exactly. It was bright and early. Practically no one else was out in the water. Why? What's up, Dad? Something the matter?
Were you on Wolf Lake?
Why, sure, Dad. That's where our boat is, isn't it?
Can't I trust you to do anything right? Don't you use your head?
What's the matter?
What's the matter? What's the matter? Why, this boy almost killed a man yesterday. He almost drowned one of my friends.
No. Oh, come off it. That's silly.
Silly? Is that what you call it, son, when a man almost drowns because of the careless action of a couple of kids?
Oh, come on now. That's a pretty serious charge. What are you talking about?
Jane, you know George Kraft down at the plant. Well, George, did you see anyone fishing?
No. Wait, there was some fellow down at Hoffman's Pier, but he wasn't bothering anyone.
Bothering anyone? Of course he wasn't bothering anyone. He was just minding his own business, fishing, until he was swamped by a couple of crazy kids.
Hey, that's right. Johnny Fisher thought we came pretty close. Gee, I hope we didn't hurt him.
Yeah, only by the grace of the good Lord. No thanks to you or your equally thoughtless friend, Johnny Fisher.
Oh, Dad, Mr. Kraft came out all right, didn't he? The boat didn't get one bit hurt. Why make a big deal out of it?
Big deal, is it? Well, I'll tell you what the deal is. You're just not going to use that boat at all for the next 10 days. The way you mishandled the thing, the poor judgment you used.
Oh, Dad.
Yes, sir, at least 10 days.
What do you want, Mike? A big sign in our living room that lists the number of accident-free days we've had?
What's so bad about keeping track of the number of days that have gone by without injury? Perhaps a little daily effort would help a woman to remain a wife and avoid being a widow. A reminder of the number of days that have gone by without an injury might help prevent an accident that cost the life of a friend and that ruined the car. Take the chance out of a potentially hazardous routine. Many people fail to see the family teamwork that makes safety a family effort.
Hey, Fred.
Oh, hi, Danny.
Hi there.
Helen. How are you? Good to see you both.
Wasn't that something, boy?
Oh, say, they were swinging, weren't they? Can you imagine that bunch on water skis? Oh, I'm sorry, Danny. I heard about Mike taking the boat away from you for 10 days, but, you know, when you get a little older, you just get a little more careful.
Oh, Fred.
That's all right, kid. You can use my boat, my motor.
Fred, do you think you ought to? Dad might...
Terrific. Gee, thanks, Fred.
Nothing to it. I'm glad to do it for you, you know. Maybe the old man will give us a little trouble, but you never know, do you?
Safety. everywhere, all the time.
Oh, gosh. Can the days ever get long here? How's Helen?
Helen's fine.
How's Fred?
Fred's fine, too. As a matter of fact, I think he's even a little smart.
Yeah, I know. I think maybe I'm even a little smarter, too. You know something, Dad?
Hmm?
I know now why he got so mad. Now I'm beginning to understand. Safety has to be a family effort. Everyone sort of watching out for the rest of the family. I tell you, Dad, you can really learn a lot just laying around in a hospital bed.
It's the hard way. It's really the hard way. You see, the big question is...
Down at the plant, at home, too?
How about this one? Hey, where's Mom?
I don't know.
Mom? Yes, I'm here in the kitchen. Just wait there. I'll be right in.
Oh, there...
I'm really not very much of an artist, but I've been working very hard. Safety everywhere, all the time. At home, on the road, at play, at work. You see, I love my family, and I want them to be, well, okay all the time. As a first step toward organizing our home for safety, I borrowed an idea from the plant and rigged up this chart.
Mom, you're a gone artist.
It's terrific.
Safety. Everywhere, all the time.
You like?
I like.